Okay, so this is just a wee bit of a video response to emeeks' latest crap about iTunes. Um, so I'm just gonna go ahead and play what he has to say.
But there's two articles that he's written here lately that is just complete and utter ass talk.
Okay, talk about pot calling the kettle black. I mean, you're one of the biggest ass talkers on the internet, and you have the audacity to call someone else an ass talker. But let's find out why you're an ass talker, shall we?
iTunes hardly ever crashes. It always fires up within 2 or 3 bounces on the dock. It never freezes. I have no idea exactly what you're talking about.
Well, let's have a little bit of a guess, shall we? You're saying that iTunes hardly ever crashes. In other words, it does crash. Maybe that's what he's talking about. The fact that iTunes actually crashes. I mean, guess how many times I've had Windows Media Player crash on me, or Winamp, or any other media player on Windows crash on me. None. I've never had a media player crash on me. Doesn't sound like iTunes is that great if it crashes on you.
I'm not saying iTunes never crashes, but I'm telling you iTunes is one of the least crashing apps that I have on my whole Mac.
Wow, you have other apps that crash on your fucking Mac as well. Doesn't sound like OS X is all that great.
And if it sucks on the Windows, maybe it's Windows' fault.
Yeah, let's have a think about that, shall we? Why don't you hear any PC users saying, oh, Winamp sucks, it's slow, crap and buggy, or Windows Media Player sucks, it's slow, you know, buggy and resource hog. You don't. You only hear Windows users talking about how bad iTunes is. That's because iTunes is the worst media player on Windows. Excuse me. Now, I think it's quite ironic that you talk about how bad Adobe is on OS X, and you talk about how bad cross-platform applications are on the iPhone. Yet when it comes to a cross-platform application like iTunes on Windows, oh no, it can't be Apple's own software. No, it can't be that. That's bad. It has to be Windows. I mean, this is why you're so full of shit. And this is why I can't stand your videos. Because, you know, the stuff that you say, if you just thought about what you're talking about for just a second, you'd realize how full of shit you are. It's pathetic.
What about iTunes is junk because I know it's stable.
You know it's stable even though it crashes. Doesn't sound too stable to me when it crashes.
Okay, I'm going to say it again. Now you know how we felt about Windows all those fucking years. Put that in your pipe and smoke it because I don't give a fuck how bad it tastes. We dealt with it for fucking decades. Time for you to deal with it. Us Mac users preaching about Windows software so fucking terrible, it's so fucking clunky, it's so fucking ugly, but we gotta use it because everybody uses them at work and at school. So how does it feel? How does it feel, motherfuckers, when the shoe's on the other foot, huh? Huh? Is it comfortable? Because I can tell you from experience, it's not.
Aw, poor you, butthurt Apple fanboy, having to use Windows. Wah. How does it feel? Sorry, it feels great. You know why? Because on Windows we have choice. We can choose to use Apple's iTunes, or we can use a different media player. We can choose to buy an iPod and have to use iTunes or Windows, or we can choose to buy a different media player. We can choose to buy Apple's iPhone and have to run iTunes on Windows, or we can choose a different media player. We have choice. That's something you don't have on OS X. You don't have choice. You have to use what Steve Jobs gives you. Have fun with that.
Please, let's just put a ban on all Apple products. Why? Why is it I'm telling you to put a ban on all Apple products? Because of iTunes. Fuck your iPad, fuck your Apple TV, fuck your iPod, fuck your iPhone. To my...
Okay, while people might not be putting a ban on Apple's products per se, there are people out there that are going to, go down to the local electronics goods store and have a look at media players and have a look at an iPod. And if they find something that's just as good as an iPod, the chances are that they might actually decide to go with that other brand rather than an iPod, so they don't have to run iTunes crap on Windows. And this is a thing that Apple, I don't think, realizes, is that they could be potentially turning away customers by doing such a poor job on Windows with iTunes.
Microsoft and its lousy Mac software, okay? So give me a fucking break. Your complaints are falling on deaf ears because we complained and cried for years just like you're doing now, and you all kicked us to the fucking curb.
Okay, here's the difference. We aren't crying because we have choice. We can choose whether I have to run iTunes or buy an iPod. We can buy a different MP3 player. I know I'm starting to sound like a bit of a broken record here, but that's the difference. We don't have to cry about anything because we don't have to use Apple's crap. We can use something else.
People are not buying iPods because they come installed in every car. People are not buying iPods because they're already installed in people's jackets when they buy jackets or houses when they buy houses. They're buying iPods because they choose to. They're buying iPhones because they choose to, and they're using iTunes because they choose to.
Okay, so you're saying that people just use Windows because they come with every PC. Well, here's the thing that makes your whole statement a logical fallacy. Not every computer that's sold out there comes with Windows. Some you can buy with Linux. Some are actually Macs. And you can buy a Mac with OS X. Yet Windows is still the dominant operating system out there. Now, there's a couple of reasons to that. One of the reasons is the same reason the iPod has got as much traction as it's got, because it was one of the first MP3 players out there. It was first to the market, therefore it got traction first and it got that market penetration. So much so that when other MP3 players came out, people would be reluctant, possibly, to look at buying any other MP3 player because the iPod was what they knew and used and loved. Same with Windows. When it came along, it was one of the first operating systems to get market penetration in the business sector because it was offering what businesses wanted from an operating system. And still today, it's the only operating system that really caters to business needs more than any other operating system, more than OS X or Linux. And it's because it got that business market that it became so popular in households, because people would use it at work, and then when they went to buy a computer, they'd buy a Windows computer because that's what they knew and that's what they used, so they had the familiarity with it. That's why Windows became so popular, and it's the same reason that iPods and iPhones have become so popular.